really favored us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? That yes, one of the biggest favors of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and one of those favors includes that he has been made one of the best examples, the best example for the entire humanity. What I want to talk about in this ayah is a certain nuance about those who have those Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about in this ayah, for which he becomes the best example, right? It is not for everyone that they can benefit from the guidance of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are some conditions to be met when you can take him as the best example. There are so many who are lost and they cannot take advantage and they cannot take benefit and heed from what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught, right? So who are those? So when you read the ayah, it has two audiences you can see of. The first one is a general audience. When Allah says, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ, right? For all of you, indeed, there is the best example. He is the Uswa Hasana. And I will talk about Uswa in a minute. I'm translating that as the best example, but there are more meanings to that. But let's take it, the meaning as the best example. So there's in him, for all of you, the best example, right? There's the first lam, means for all of you, it's a general audience, and so the benefit of this is it includes the sincere believers, the believers whose iman is at the highest, and then it also includes those who don't have that level of iman. It includes those who have some level of nifaq, and it includes all of us, right? Some level of hypocrisy, and when the iman goes down, right? It includes the hypocrisy at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well, right? It includes the munafiqeen of the Medina as well. And Allah says, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. So why don't you take heed when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is present amongst you right now? For the munafiqeen at that time, he was there in front of them, but they were not able to benefit from him because of the hypocrisy in their hearts. So Allah is saying that indeed there is the best example for all of you, who believers or hypocrites or anybody who is present at that time. Right? But this shows the universal potential to take the Prophet as a model, as an example for you. Right? And it also serves as a beautiful reminder for the believers to not think of themselves as immune to hypocrisy, as immune or as being protected from this disease of nifaq. Right? Because it includes all of us. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it as a first as a priority to include a general audience in who can take it as a role model. Now, before going to the second audience, let's think about the context of revelation of this ayah. This ayah has been revealed in one of the most, you can think of, very dire and hopeless situations, right? It was the Battle of Ahzab, the Battle of Khandaq, popularly called the trench when it was dug up, right? Why? Because they were being attacked by thousands of enemies from outside Medina, right? And so, even in that despair, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has emphasized something in the next part of the ayah, which doesn't seem very intuitive, right? In that, the hopelessness and despair, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala emphasizes something else in the next part of the ayah. Allah says, لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرَ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. There are three things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts as a condition for who now can take him really as a role model, right? The first one was the general one. Now Allah says, there is a second now. Then you can hear the liman. So this is the second now, which means there is another audience that is now going to really take him as a role model. And these three are the conditions that help us really take him, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as an example for our lives, right? And why so? Because the munafiqeen lacked hope in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The munafiqeen lacked hope in him. They didn't have any hope in Allah or Rasulullah or the Akhirah, right? Because they thought that they can side with the kafirin and they can bring some benefits of this world. And so that's why they doubted Allah's promise and questioned the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam during the entire this event that happened, and entire series of events that happened in Medina, right? And in contrast, you can think the true believers, they are the ones who really had hope in Allah and Rasulullah and all the promises that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam have made during this time, right? So what are the three conditions that Allah talks? First, obviously, is the hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What Allah has promised is going to happen, is going to come true, right? And hope in the last day, yarjullaha wal yawm al-akhir. And what is coming in the akhirah is obviously going to be better than what is in this dunya. As Allah says. And then third one, they are engaged in frequent remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَذَكَرُوا اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. It's interesting that this worship of dhikr, when it comes in the Quran, it usually comes in the Quran as kathir, right? There are people who engage in the remembrance of Allah in multitude, every time, very frequently. There is a frequency that has been mentioned about dhikr. Any place in the Quran you read about dhikr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions وَذَاكِرِينَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا وَذَاكِرَاتٍ, right? As it keeps coming, that they remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kathira, right? They keep remembering and they keep their tongues, minds with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so this is a self-check included in this ayah. Am I really checking these three conditions? Am I really taking Rasulullah as an example for my life, right? And this is the power of dhikr also, is to quickly mention. In difficult times, I mean, you can think of Battle of Ahzab, how difficult was that? We often obsess ourselves by thinking about the problem, right? What are the problems coming in, how it is going to affect me and all of that. But the true loyalty to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it involves replacing that constant worry with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how mighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is and how beautiful Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's example is for me to follow. And if I do follow that, that becomes an individual step that can help us deal with those difficult times as the Battle of Ahzab. Now finally, something about the word uswa, right? We translate commonly as an example or role model. But the word comes from asad, alif, sin, vav, and if you look at the dictionary meaning, it means to nurse or to treat somebody, to treat a wound, right? To heal a wound. It also means a pillar that holds up a structure. A pillar that you can think of this mosque. This is a pillar. This holds up these structures, right? The strongest part of a building, right? And a remedy that can help heal. Usually there are two meanings associated with any word in Arabic. And so Rasulullah is not just a role model, he's the support structure of the entire ummah and humanity by extension, right? And he helps and uplifts and heals the wound of this ummah and the grievance and the griefs and the sorrows, he helps and heals them, right? So this is the meaning of Uswatul Hasana, the beautiful healer, the best healer, the best remedy for any wound you are going through, right? So this is the universal relevance of Rasulullah and his healing power that Allah has gifted us, all of us with, and so he becomes a beacon for the sincere seekers and as well as those who have weakened, whose iman has been weakened, that they take him as an example by remembering Allah, by remembering having hope in Rasulullah and remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continuously, right? So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to take Rasulullah as an example in all the aspects of our lives. He was a social reformer, right? He's a spiritual guide, educator, teacher, right? Moral compass, right? He's a political leader. He gives examples in all those facets of our lives, and so taking him as an example means integrating all of these qualities in the aspects of our life, not just picking one that we like and not taking the other, right? That is the complete and whole example of Rasulullah. It's the whole lifestyle that he gifted the world before which we all in darkness, right? So this is the beautiful reflection of this ayah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to take him as a uswatul hasana and allow us to embody